This is the September 23rd, 2019 Board of Control meeting. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Good morning, everyone. Calling the roll for the Monday, September 23rd Board of Control meeting. It is now 11:02 a.m. We have Nan Baker, Dale Miller, Trevor McAleer serving as an alternate for Dan Brady, Mike Chambers serving as an alternate for Mike Dever, Dennis Kennedy serving as an alternate for Armin Budish,
Here.
Lenora Lockett. Here. We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. If everybody would take a moment to review the minutes of the meeting from September 16th. Is there any corrections or changes to the minutes anyone wishes to make? Hearing none, I will make a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor of approval of the minutes indicate by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? The minutes are approved. Is there any public comment?
No public comment at this time.
Are there any tabled items?
And no tabled items.
Okay, so we can move into the first new item for review.
First new item, item number BC 2019-701, Department of Public Works, submitting an amendment to a contract with Stantec Consulting Services, Inc. for general sanitary engineering services for the period February 22nd, 2017 through February 21st, 2020, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2021, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $300,000.
Hi, Nicole English with Public Works. So we're asking for an amendment to a engineering contract with Stantec to add $300,000 and extend the time for a year. And this is mainly to perform the local stormwater master plan for Olmsted Township, which we recently, we'd been back and forth a little bit with law on whether the county could do this with their stormwater money. So we finally got the ruling. We'd like to move forward using Stantec because they have done all the regional work for the sewer district. And so they have the modeling and the data collection already sort of started. So if we would have to use another consultant, we'd have to start from scratch and not know if the regional sewer district would accept our findings until later down the road. So that's why we're planning to do it with Stantec. Stantec is under current contract with us through a GES, which was selected through a competitive process.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for Nicole? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item is approved.
Next item, item BC 2019-702, Department of Public Works, recommending an award on requisition 44292 and enter into a contract with Honeywell International, Inc., doing business as Honeywell Building Solutions in the amount not to exceed $298,700 for Jail 2 fire alarm system testing, inspection, and maintenance services at the Jail 2. And it's for the period September 23rd, 2019 through September 8th, 2022.
Good morning, Matt Reimer with the Department of Public Works. This was a formal request for bid for the testing, inspection, and maintenance services of our fire alarm systems at the Jail 2 structure at the downtown facility. This is a 3-year contract requested. The Jail 2 facility has approximately 10 fire alarm panels throughout the building and on the order of 2,000 endpoint devices connecting to those panels, and this is for the maintenance and code compliance services of those devices, keeping them up to speed to be compliant with NFPA and authority having jurisdiction standards. Not surprised, there was a question about number of bids. It's not surprising in my mind that there was only one bid here. These systems are typically, I lost the word, I apologize. Thank you. Siemens, Honeywell, they all are proprietary to their own particular systems, but sometimes there will be vendors that are certified in care of those. We didn't get any responses to that effect, though, on this bid.
Thanks, Matt. Any questions? Mr. McAleer.
Matt, do you know how many vendors are certified to work on that particular system? Is it just the 14 that the bid was sent to, or are there multiple vendors?
I don't. I believe the 14 are probably those that are in the fire alarm services realm, not just the Honeywell systems. It is a Honeywell system that is in Jail 2.
Any other questions related to this item? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
The next item is a two-part item, item number BC 2019-703, Department of Public Works. A, submitting an RP exemption on requisition 46288, which will result in an award recommendation to PSX Inc. in the amount not to exceed $193,500 for the purchase and installation of a parking access and revenue control system for the parking facilities located at the Juvenile Justice Center. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Mike Chambers of Public Works asking for approval of this item. The current system out there now is a standalone software, Black Creek, and it's not functioning properly. It doesn't communicate with our central server, which we use is iPark system. When it was built at the time, it was decided to put this system in. All of our other parking lots are maintained via the iPark system, which is through PSX, and therefore we want to bring it online. It was also mentioned in our internal audit report a year ago that we should consider the investment of bringing that into our system, and that's what we're doing now, so we ask for your approval.
Thank you. Any questions on this item? Councilwoman Baker?
Did you say this will now connect with the other? This will no longer be a standalone?
That's correct. It'll be connected with our main server. Right.
Did you also say that the contractor is the same as what we've been using in our other, or is this a new contract?
No, it's the same. We're bringing it in line with the current systems we have now.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Councilwoman Baker. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The item is approved.
Next item is a two-part item, item number BC 2019-704, Department of Information Technology. A, submitting an RP exemption on requisition 46754, which will result in an award recommendation to Dell Marketing LP in the amount not to exceed $32,656.50 for the purchase of 615 Microsoft Exchange P2 licenses. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RP exemption.
Janelle Green, Department of IT. These 615 licenses are for the email online only plans. This is to allow internal communications to go out to employees that would have not otherwise have access to computers, such as guards at the jail, public works employees that are in the field. Some of the questions are provided ahead of time is why do we need more licenses? Again, for employees that wouldn't typically have access to computers. So those people were never assigned email addresses. And one of the questions also asks, well, why HR wants this. So we're going into open enrollment season. So it would be beneficial for employees to be able to have communications from the county. We can't account for any of the email clients that they may use. Gmail, Yahoo may block with communications that we try to send out. So we want to make sure that those employees would be able to get those vital communications, because that could mean them having coverage or not. At this point, this would cover most of the county employees. And when an employee leaves the county employment, we put that email account in essentially a legal hold, but this license does become free and we could use it in other instances.
Any questions? Councilman Miller?
So if If we're talking about employees that don't have access to computers, how would they access these email accounts?
Meaning that the county does not provide them a computer. They don't have a workstation or a laptop. So most of these people do have the county cell phones, so they can access these, they should be able to access these email accounts via the cell phones, the smartphones that we provide.
Okay.
Any other questions, Mr. McAleer?
Do we have an issue with people not signing up for benefits during open enrollment to purchase these?
I would not be able to answer that question at this point. I would be able to forward that question on to HR and likely the N4 team. Oh,
HR is here.
hello, HR is here. Hello, Hollywoods.
Good morning, Hollywoods, Director of HR for Benefits and Compensation. So I want to take it a little bit more holistically than open enrollment. We have a lot of communication, not only from Human Resources, but from the Communications Department and other departments that need to get out to all employees. And if employees don't have access by a county email address, it's very restrictive. So we have to engage, and we would engage anyways, but we have to engage in other means of communication because they don't all have an email address. We work through those limited email address issues through open enrollment, so I'm not going to say it's an issue, but it is definitely a significant barrier as we roll out any of our communications, knowing that they don't have an email address to funnel communications to. And to follow up from Councilman Miller's questions, employees do have access to kiosks as well. IT has done a great job putting kiosks throughout our locations. So even if they don't have their own desktop or a phone, they do have regular access to a kiosk where they could periodically check any emails that come through as well. But it is a significant limitation when you're talking about an organization of this size to not be able to at least send emails to all of our employees to update them on various items.
Mr. McAleer?
But is the $32,000 a one-time charge, or is that going to be an annual charge for these licenses?
This carries us out to the end of the EA agreement on June 30th of 2020.
And are these, do corrections officers currently have email addresses, or is this mainly for corrections officers, or, 615?
So this goes.
Trying to figure out.
So this goes through for some corrections officers, also some public works employees that are in the field. So there's multiple kinds of employees, and plus this also accounts for the increase in hiring for the corrections officers. So that's a specific request that we did get for these licenses.
So do some COs have email addresses now and others do not?
If there's some, if there's some that have access that may, work at a central station, most of them do not.
But 615 will be enough?
That should cover them, yes.
Yeah, Councilwoman Baker?
Curious as to why we are asking now. How long have they not had an email?
We did get a request from the new, I think it was warden, in order for her to be able to communicate out with her staff. So that's what's driving the ask, as well as the other employees needing to have access.
And did you say that the majority were coming from the correction officers?
So there's about 230 from the corrections officers, and then what our administrators, our IT administrators did was run a query of those employees that have Active Directory accounts. So that's how you have to log into the N4 system for GHR, or the HR system, and looked at the system to compare with those who didn't have an email license and submitted this request to account for those. So at this time, everybody would be covered, but in the event that there's more hires that come in, or with that transition, someone may not be.
If I may, does the timing line up with the next time you go out to bid for these licenses?
Yes, it co-terms with the EA agreement, which again is June 30th, 2020.
And you'll then go for all of it?
Correct.
Do you anticipate a better price break, given that you're doing it in bulk rather than for 600?
We would definitely hope so. When we originally went into this agreement, it was from the state term contract. So once we look at all of what the licenses that we have, because we bought many off of this in line with the EA agreement. So once we look at all of what we have at one lump sum, and when we put that out and ask for bids, we would hope that we would get better pricing.
Okay, good.
Mr. Meckler?
Just going back to a question Councilman Miller asked about access to the emails. I mean, I think you said about 230 or so corrections officers will need the license. Do they have county-issued cell phones? I didn't think we gave COs.
I believe so. I'm not 100%. So I'll have to check with our mobile department to verify that.
I'm just concerned that we're going to pay for license for the COs when they don't. I didn't think they had cell phones, but I could be wrong on that.
I would have to verify that, but then also, as Holly said, they do have access to kiosks and things like that, so they would have other avenues in which to access these emails.
I can also add to that. We know that. Did I get them?
No, you just.
Don't hurt the dog. Sorry. That's okay. To also add to that, we do know as we've worked through communication specifically with in the sheriff's office, that a number of them will access their supervisors' computers to go on email or do various things. So even outside of them not having a phone, they do have kiosks, and I am aware that supervision allows them to get on the computer to access some of that pertinent information as well. Another big issue that really what's driving this now, I think to go to Councilman Baker's response, is why is this coming up now? It's the idea of public records as well. We really want to steer away from sending work communications to an employee's personal email because it's a public record. And so you really want to keep all of that through a county record. So it really gets complicated when you're using personal email addresses, especially on that public record side. Yes, access will be a little limited for corrections and sheriff's office, but they do have access through various means. And I see that kind of increasing over through the future too.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
Next item, item number BC 2019-705, Department of Human Resources, recommending an award on requisition 44252 and enter into a contract with WageWorks, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $180,000 for Consolidated Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act Administrative, also known as COBRA, services for the period July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2022. And I'd like to make a correction under the funding source that's going to be covered for this item. The funding source will be Hospitalization Self-Insurance Fund / Benefits Administration Fund.
Hollywood's Director of HR for Benefits and Compensation. So this contract is for administration of COBRA services. COBRA is a federal law that requires employers of 20 or more employees who offer healthcare benefits to offer continuance of this coverage due to any separation, so termination, retirement, leave of absence, etc. We did engage in an RFP process in February, and a letter of intent was sent in April. Employees who are eligible for COBRA due to leaving county employment or leave are contacted by this vendor and provided with that continuance option. This item is late as there was a very lengthy negotiation process with a vendor regarding contract versus amendment versus order form. We started this process back in April. And in addition, WageWorks also went through an acquisition, so there was some change of hands in who we were working with, which caused some significant delays in us getting the final contract to move forward. So we finally received the signed contract on 7/23. It took us about 3 months to get that signed contract from the provider.
Any questions? Councilman Baker?
So were you surprised when WageWorks gave such a stalling answer? I mean, you'd think that they would know better, given that they are current providers. I'm sure this isn't their first contract. And to go that long and resist giving what they should have been giving, I guess is my question.
Sure, and I won't say so much as surprise as I know when they went through the acquisition, there was some change in their legal counsel. And so we worked with our rep continuously as we kept getting documentation back. It would come in the form of amendment or an order form. And so we literally had to go back and pull previous year's records and find the legal representative that we had worked with originally. And once we pulled that original legal representative, we got it back on track. But I don't believe this was a stalling tactic. The terms never changed. It was really a gap in the exact paperwork that we needed versus what I think the acquisition was saying what we could do through the acquisition. They were saying that we could do to get this renewed. So I don't believe it was a result of any, like I said, any stall tactic or anything else. It was really just kind of a change of who was involved and misunderstandings of what we needed to be compliant with our process.
And if I may, this is the incumbent vendor.
Correct.
You did go out for an RFP in February.
Correct.
Did you have any others that responded?
We did. We had, let's see, 24 were on the plan holders list and 6 responded to the RFP.
And the best response was the WageWorks? Then?
Correct. And they have been a very good provider to work with. We've had them in place for some time now, but we have never, they've been a great provider to work with so far.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Meckler?
Holly, was WageWorks the lowest out of the 6?
I do believe, I will verify that, but I do believe they were the best as far as contract pricing. I'll verify that and follow up.
And was there some consideration considering how the negotiations were going about going to the second vendor?
No, and I shouldn't use the word negotiations in that it really was just the paperwork that was needed. The terms never changed. That was all finalized. It was really the paperwork that they were sending us for the renewal. So I think I used the word negotiations. That wasn't the best word to use. Negotiations went fine. It was done. It was really just getting the correct paperwork that we needed to move it forward in the process. So as a result of that, we did not consider it because the terms of the RFP or none of that changed.
But they were the lowest.
Again, I'll verify, but I do believe so.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Holly, this ran out July 1st.
Correct.
So have they been providing us?
They have, as COBRA is a federal law requirement, we had to continue the services to be compliant with the law. So they have been providing the services since the contract expired on 6/30.
So if we paid them anything?
We have not paid them.
Okay. Councilwoman Baker.
Just to follow up on that, if we did not choose them and we were out of contract and they were providing services, what would we have done? Would we have just paid them what we owed them and then gone on to the next contract, given it was late?
So if I understand your question right, if we chose another vendor, WageWorks would not likely have continued their services past their contract expiration because we would have had to have notified them that we were going with another vendor. And so that would have required really probably a discussion with a new vendor if they would provide services while we work through the contracting process. That's my first thought. We didn't come across that, so I didn't plan for it. But I would anticipate that we would have gone with a new vendor and asked them to go ahead and start services while we work through the contracting process.
Okay, thank you. They really, I think, put you in a box
Absolutely.
by doing that.
Which is why they continued to provide services knowing that they weren't going to receive payment until everything was approved. So that they did know the situation that they were in and that we'd be unable to provide any funds until it was completed.
Right, thank you.
Mr. Meckler.
Charlie, is the new price, is the price with the new contract more the same than the previous contract?
It is the same. We have not experienced an increase in the contract pricing.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item is approved.
Next item, BC 2019-706, Department of Health and Human Services, Community Initiatives Division, Office of Homeless Services, submitting an amendment to a contract with United Way of Greater Cleveland for web-based housing listing services in connection with the Homeless Crisis Response Program, and is for the period January 1st, 2018 through August 31st, 2019, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2019, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $9,450.
Morning, Shari Weir, Office of Homeless Services. We are requesting that this contract be extended for 4 months. This is a web-based service that is available to anyone, but it's particularly useful to homeless individuals and families who are looking for suitable housing for them to move out of shelter.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Hearing none, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second. Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
Next item, item number BC 2019-707. It's a two-part item. Department of Health and Human Services, Community Initiatives Division, Office of Early Childhood. A, submitting an RP exemption on requisition 46297, which will result in an award recommendation to the Centers for Families and Children, Glenville Early Learning Center, in the amount not to exceed $200,000 for expansion and administration of the Universal Pre-Kindergarten Program for the period August 1st, 2019 through July 31st, 2020. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RP exemption.
Good morning, Marcos Cortez with the Office of Early Childhood, Invest in Children. Again, this is a contract with the Centers for Families and Children, specifically for their Glenville Early Learning Center to expand the UPK program there. The funds for this contract come specifically from the Cleveland Browns Foundation to be used at Glenville.
Thank you. Any questions related to this item? No Browns comments or anything? Okay. I will make a motion to approve this item. Is there a second? Second by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor of approval of the item indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item is approved. Thank you.
We're moving on to exemptions. Item number BC 2019-708, Department of Sustainability, recommending an alternative procurement process which will result in the issuance of a request for qualifications in collaboration with Cleveland Public Power and the Cleveland Foundation, which will result in an award recommendation and contract with Cleveland Public Power for a developer for various microgrid service projects.
Mike Foley from the Department of Sustainability. So over the summer, we hired Middo Engineering and Cleveland State to help us develop this request for proposals, request for qualifications for this microgrid project. This is simply to just formalize kind of the alternative procurement process. At the end of the day, we will be, making kind of a joint decision with ourselves, Cleveland Foundation, and Cleveland Public Power over the ultimate developer of the project.
Okay. Any questions? Councilman Miller?
What's the current estimate on the timeline on this?
Councilman, we're close to being done on the RFQ portion. We think Cleveland Public Power is meeting on Friday just to go over some final language. Hopefully we'll get that out next week. Once that happens, then we'll get responses from qualified developers and then start the RFP process. The idea is that by end of January, we will have a formal RFP going out and a decision made by March of 2020 on who the developer will be.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor of approval of the item indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item is approved.
We're moving on to the consent agenda, item numbers BC 2019-709 through 712.
Okay, if everybody will take a moment to review the items Andrea referred to. Does anybody have any questions related to anything on the consent agenda? Hearing none, I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second? Second by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The consent agenda is approved. Any other business?
No other business at this time,
And is there any other public comment?
and no public comment.
So I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor of adjournment indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.